So that's the and-oring. So now I have like adding measures and summations to reports, or essentially adding totals to your reports. This again is a little bit buried in the UI, but it's also a relatively easy method of adding totals when you're doing a report that has like you have a large table with a lot of values, and there's like no totals or sums anywhere in the report. There's a way to add that in, and you can do it a couple different. Well, this is in the results tab, and I'll kind of demo this quickly too. So when you're in the results tab, again, you click that pencil, the edit button. For the table, there's the title container, the table container. You click it for the table container. And then how your options for adding the totals or summations for your report is going to vary a little bit based on your view, what type of report you built, a number of different aspects. But for the most part, it works the same. And I'll get into that in a second. So this is just kind of an easy one. This is just like a report on like budget with allocation, encumbrances, expenditures, percentages, so forth. You have your fund ledger, so you have like a number of values, essentially, currency. I'll go through this quickly. Again, you hit in the results tab, you hit the little pencil on the table. And then you'll see like a columns and measures, and you see this little like the little symbol for totals. If you click that, you'll have a couple of different options. Like the default typically is none, so you're not going to have any of these sums by default. But you can do, oftentimes you can click after, and then you see in that last image there, what in this case is it's a relatively simple report, and what it did is it did by just doing that, by adding that little that total afterwards, it gave you the grand total at the end, and so that way you can look at the end of the report and see, okay, what is my total allocation, what's my total encumbrance for that period, and expenditures. And it's a quick way to do it, to build it into a report without having to do any sort of like complex work in other areas, like in the criteria tab or something. Now this is one I'm actually going to demo. This is kind of a large, sort of unwieldy report in a sense. So this is circ activities by day of week and hourly intervals as a pivot table. So you kind of see like this is, again, it's probably hard to see because it's a large. I actually cut out a lot of the table. On the left-hand side, you have like actual calendar dates going down, starting from like our go live date on. They may not actually be sorted incorrectly, but that's how it is right now. And then on the top, you have essentially the actual days. You have the Friday, Monday, Saturday, Sunday, essentially, and that's repeated. So you have the weekly days repeated for each CERC desk. So you have our main CERC desk, our resource sharing, self-check, Watkinson desk, and so forth. So it gives you kind of like this is a large table indicating, kind of giving you a rough view of like when's the highest activity level for the CERC desk, based on day, based on calendar dates. Now, it's helpful to kind of like visually scan this report and just kind of see like, all right, I can see like a lot of numbers on this, like Thursday seemed to have a lot of CERC transactions, more so than Mondays, things like that. But again, you're just kind of eye reading it and just kind of like making kind of guesses at quick assessments based on that. This is a good report where you want to have like summations. Again, this is a little unwieldy. This is kind of the way I displayed this here, but so this is going into reports, and I'll actually demo this quickly. You go into results again. You hit the edit button on the table, and then in this case, I added for both the columns and the rows. I added totals in here. So let's see if I can. So is this one? This is not it, sorry. Okay, I think this is the report here. So again, I moved to the results tab, and again, it's quite a large report. It covers across all of our sort desks and then all of our dates, and it goes on quite a bit. And again, it's helpful to kind of look at, but again, you may want totals here for this one. This is a good example of something where you want like totals or summations at the end. So, so I got to scroll over to the side here, and again, I'm going to the table. Hitting the pencil, the little edit button here, and you get this little menu down here. That gives you, it looks a little complicated, and what options you have here. So there's a lot of different things you can do here, but in this case, what I'm going to do, the simplest approach here is you have columns and rows, and you have the little, this is the little total symbol button here. So in this case, I'm actually going to add it to both the columns and the rows. So I'm going to click this, and actually what it should do is a live refresh as well, which may not, I'm going to do after in both cases. You're not going to see it right away because it's such a large report. And then after I've added both of those totals, you can hit done at the end. And again, I apologize because the text is probably very small, but what it did is it added both the totals to as a column on the right-hand side and then as a row in the bottom, although to get to it, I have to like scroll down quite a bit. So I don't know if I'll do that right now for time, but so the one on the right-hand side, what it's doing is giving you a little more context for your data. So what you now hear on the column on the right-hand side, you have by calendar day. So you can look at essentially each calendar date. If you want to pick one in particular, you can look at, okay, so this, this one on the 11th here, there was 11 transactions this day. You can check the calendar date and so forth. Now, the one at the bottom, I'd have to kind of scroll through several pages of data because I think this report runs from go live up till now. There actually is a summation. There's a grand total at the bottom as well as a row. Now, what that would do is would be giving you like, you would get essentially, you could look at the total at the bottom, and that would give you the by actual like day of the week. So you would get the total for Monday at the main circulation desk. What is the total of loans for for Monday across like across all of our operating period? And again, it's again by sort desk. Now again, so you have the totals at the bottom. What actually we'll do here quickly is I'm going to add one more total to this just to kind of give it a little bit more, just to make it a little bit more readable as well. And in this case, what I did is before I did the generic sort of like column. I added a column total, and then I added a row total here. I can dig in a little deeper and a little more granular. In this case, what I'm going to do is add, you can add totals to like various other data elements here as well. So I'm going to add one for the loan circulation desk, which may be helpful to further contextualize the data and give you a little bit more information to work off of. So I'm going to drag this down again. It did a live refresh, so it added it right there. So now what you have is that what I did is you're going to have, again, the totals on both the far right and the bottom. Those are your grand totals for every row and column. Here, what I did is I added it for a discrete element within your report. So I added it for the desk itself. So here I have now it created a separate columns after each desk. So you have the circulation desk total. And this might give you a little more information about okay, so it'll give you again more context for if you're just worried about the main sort desk, and you can just worry about that column. Look at the information that's presented there. If you're just worried about the self-check desk or the self-check machine, you can look at that and okay, so so you can sort of play around with it, and you can add totals that are again at just grand totals that for every line on the column and row, and then or in this case you get more granular if you want something that gives you more context and just add in for different data elements. I could go a little further into this and add further ones, but I'll stop here for that piece. And it just helps make the report a little bit more human readable and gives you a little bit more data to work off of, rather than just like a scatter plot of numbers across the table. And then this is just, again, like, this is kind of like showing, again, what I just did in the demo, so this is the bottom part that we didn't scroll down to see, which is showing the grand totals for day of the week for each circ desk. And then, again, this is what I just did right now, so this is the adding in the discrete totals within the report itself. And
can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
So if you're working with an expenditure report, it would be kind of the same thing where if you had, like, when your funds change, would you ask for a summation or a total after? I was a little confused as to how you got to come after the column. So it totaled it up like for each of the circ desks and that type of thing. So if you wanted to sum after each fund change, like you've got a bunch of gift funds.
Yeah.
Total, would you do this similar?
Yeah, you should be able to. So you're talking like the ones that like were created columns within the middle of the table, and they created those extra columns after each circ desk. Yeah, you should. So, what you should be able to do is, let's see, I can. What it's doing here is like, in this case, let's see if. So you have like the columns and rows, and then it'll just give you like at the end. What it should do is, based on your report, you'll see these like here. So what it's doing is pulling out the various columns I added in. So you can see there's like almost in a lot of the columns. It depends on the data of the column. So you can't do it after every one, depending on what data is available. But in this case, like so here for like the this case, I took the loan circulation desk. That was one of the columns I built into the criteria of the report. And that's where I was able to add the totals after here. So you should, based on your report, like if you have like expenditures or something, or you have like different columns that you want to like, they should show up kind of in that section here. Again, it'll depend on what type of like information or data is there, but you should have a lot of them show up in various cases, and you're able to add the totals per data element or per column. Yeah.
How the results are, right?
Yes, yeah. So depending again, like, so this I think was, I believe this was a pivot table too. So what you're seeing here may be a little bit different than if it's not a pivot, if it's just kind of a straight table or something. You may see sort of a different arrangement, but yeah, once you click that pencil and go down here, it'll basically show you anytime you see the little totals symbol there, that means it's available for each data element or each column that you built into your criteria. So, and you can try clicking in, and then it basically live refreshes right there. So once you click that, you can kind of look at your report, and you'll see like, oh, does that work for me? Is that exactly what I want to get in terms of context? So, I hope that helps a little bit, but yeah.
I think it's possible to do in a straight report if you add in a column where you change the function to make it a formula, adding up the contents of other columns. But it's easier to do it just from a pivot table.